Hello everyone, Stefan here. It's November 23rd, and I thought I might just walk you through the AI for Agile online course so that you can have a better understanding what it's all about. So, how does it work? First of all, you can see there are several sections. It starts with an introduction that has mainly the purpose to frame the whole adventure here. Of course, it introduces MegaBrain.io, our little fictitious startup. Please don't search for the website, it does not exist. And that will help us to actually explore the techniques that we have here. And we will spend quite a lot of time, as you can see, on prompt engineering and workspace customization. If you haven't yet done so, that is certainly significant from the perspective of getting a good return on investment. It's amazing to see what a simple profile customization can provide as far as improved outcomes are concerned. And then on top, of course, what else we can do here. We also spend quite a lot of time on prompting for a simple reason. I don't know how the interface will look like in 2 years from now, but for now, it is all about being good at prompting. These models are not really good at guessing what you want from them, but if you tell them exactly what you want from them, it's quite amazing what they can produce, and we will spend a lot of time on that. So we will, as you can see, start with basic prompting techniques. We have a whole session on profile customization. We talk about memory, how that works, and what it means for your daily work if you choose to have memory. We will talk about prompt frameworks in the sense of what makes sense. And of course, I also have a few additions in the case that something was updated and is not completely reflected in the original framework. We talk a bit of systems cards and of course meta prompting, which means that you basically ask the model to help you with creating the prompt before you start actually using it. We have a little detour via the prompt optimizer for ChatGPT, for example, and then we talk about the benefits of GPTs, projects, or gems, which is really helpful, particularly if you share work with others or if you want to actually use memory to the full extent. Now, analyzing data basically delves into the real world of the Agile practitioners, because when we try to make sense of a lot of data that we have available, for example, we analyze customer support issues. What are critical things that pop up here and there? How may those help us with identifying what is worth building, for example? We have a session on making sense of stickies, so in our case, it's just a screenshot, but of course you can take a photo of your walls and then have a large language model analyze these and transcribe these. We have a lot of team data available, so I synthesized for one of the MegaBrain.io teams a lot of sprint data, and you will have the opportunity to analyze what it's all about. For example, among creating a retrospective, also creating a report for the CTO to help with the situation. Then on top of that, we have a lot of stakeholder interviews that you can analyze, and also we like to understand how product requirements actually from our stakeholders may lead to a more structured way of figuring out what is worth building, from PRD to hypothesis to experiments and learning cards. We also spend quite a lot of time on exploring other tools, NotebookLM, for example, or Gemini to create quizzes and infographics, how to create presentations with Gamma. We have also a fun exercise with AI Studio where it actually explains the process to us, which is really helpful. That's my product backlog process. And we will also talk about, of course, removing AI speak from text. So it's certainly a good idea. and how I manage to synthesize all the data for the exercises that you will be using. Of course, we deal with the topics of risk, ethics, and transformations. So, what are product risks if you use large language models to help you with the process? There are quite a few, and you should probably consider those. What would be an ethical use of AI? How can we kick off, support an AI transformation in our organization? And finally, there are a lot of GPTs I created I will share with you that might be helpful in the process. Okay, so let's have a closer look. What is this all about? What is MegaBrain.io? MegaBrain.io is a fictitious little startup that is in a dire straits. You know, they're venture capital funded and they're running out of money. They have maybe 90 days of runway left, and they desperately need to ship a new release. Otherwise, there won't be a Series B, and you are hired as a new Agile practitioner to help the three teams that MegaBrain has to make it to that deadline. So that's the narrative. Of course, we have something like product vision, product strategy. We have personas. We know exactly who the leadership team is. We have a better understanding, or a relative good understanding about the teams, the product backlog, customer support issues, product requirements, etc. pp. And of course, a lot of other things like the conflicts between the founders and whatnot. So that is basically the narrative that you have here, and everything is built on top of it. What we can see here, so that's a standard feature. Very often for the sessions you have downloads available. For example, here is the written MegaBrain.io scenario, and there's a transcript of the session. I always do that. I also summarize the session in the sense that you get a better understanding of the learning value, what are the top issues addressed, and at the bottom you can see there are also some links. So for example, I created the slides for the presentation on Gamma, and you can directly access them. And I created a thumbnail in Gemini, and of course you can have access to that one too. So I share all the materials, and sometimes more than the material necessary to have an immersive understanding. There are 4 small quizzes involved in the whole thing, and there are really standard quizzes here. So it's more kind of quick feedback session that you have here to understand whether this is working in your favor and whether you might repeat the session. As you can see, there are always 10 questions, multiple choice, 1 scenario, 4 answer options, 1 is correct. And there will also be a big certification, in the sense that a real one with a document. And I hope to create that by the end of November, so that everyone will enjoy this one as well. So that's going to be 40 questions. I think in about, well, 3/4 of an hour, something like that. And it will cover a broad spectrum. And yeah, that's going to be what I plan to do here. So as you can see, sometimes there are already updates inside. You need to understand that I'm constantly working on this course. So the next release is planned for mid-March 2026. So that's approximately 3.5, 4 months from now. And sometimes I just deliver something earlier. So in this case, GPT-5 was released, and I considered, okay, this might be worth an update for the Agile prompting framework that I created earlier. And I make those available. And as you again can see, so you have the OpenAI GPT-5 system card, for example, and the appendix as a PDF as well. And of course, this transcript, if you want to have a look at those, that certainly is not an issue. Okay, so student tasks. Student tasks are always the exercises for yourself. So in this case, your task is to basically analyze the customer support case table. You know, it's an Excel file that you have here. for patent opportunities or issues. And I also updated my analysis so that you have something to compare your work to someone else's work. And we have many of these student tasks within the course, so that you have not just the quizzes, but also the direct opportunity to actually create something here yourself. And so finally, in the course of the course, I created a lot of GPTs that I share with you. So, for example, there's the MegaBrain.io GPT that comprises really all the relevant documents in one place that you can use to ask more questions about this or do whatever you want. More importantly, number two, the AI for Agile Bootcamp Editor GPT. There's one session where you are supposed to create a deep research report. And this editor GPT is really cool in the sense that it analyzes the report, and basically it's a sort of Q&A round for the report, because seriously, you should never accept the first version of a report created in that way. And it's really helpful. It's a strict one, so it's based on classic academic and journalistic publishing standards. You will learn this, right? Okay, so you may have heard I wrote a book about Scrum anti-patterns published by Pearson in the Professional Scrum series, and you get your GPT here as well. So it's based on the book. If you have any questions about why your Scrum is off tracks or whatever, go there and ask a few questions. I also curated a lot of documents on the future of work, given that AI may be a paradigm shifting event that we are currently experiencing. If you want to know more about this, help yourself. POM, product operating model, that's a GPT I created for myself on principles, benefits, challenges, transformations, anti-patterns, whatnot. So if you're contemplating whether your organization might be moving to a product operating model, that might be a good idea here to have a look at this and ask it a bit. And okay, AI removal GPT is a good way, because it analyzes basically your artifact and suggests how to remove classic expressions of large language models. Okay, so basically now you know how the online course looks like. It's $129, which I believe is a really good value for money, and it will increase in price next year by all means. So maybe you consider to sign up now during the Black Friday to Cyber Monday session, because it's a lifetime subscription. You know, you pay once and never again, and all of the upgrades are included. So I hope I see you on the other side.